What's up, Space Pirates? This is your captain, the Dread Pirate Dr. Disaster. And for a lot of people, the Indiana Jones franchise was irreparably damaged by the Disney movie Dial of Destiny.
I need to do this.
Me too.
Put a chick in it, make her gay!
Now, it's not like this does anything to the original films. In my mind, those are Indiana Jones canon. The Last Crusade had the absolute perfect ending for the franchise. It was awesome to see Indy literally riding off into the sunset with his friends. Even the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, which I rarely watch, but even it had a decent ending with Indy finally getting hitched to Marion. Dial of Destiny didn't ruin the old movies, it just soured most people on anything put out by Disney with this IP moving forward. That explains why it sounds like, according to my sources in retail, virtually nobody is pre-ordering Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. People are tired of the bait and switch that we see in franchises like this. Disney chased after the modern audience with all of their IPs, and everyone else bailed on their shit. Because of their actions, many of us suspect that the new female character introduced in this Indiana Jones game will be an insufferable feminist self-insert who shows up Indy on a routine basis. So yeah, I have several sources who work in retail spaces where they sell video games, and the amount of pre-orders for this game is staggeringly low. In fact, this game so far is selling worse than Star Wars Outlaws, and it's even tracking behind Dragon Age the Veilguard. And that is absolutely pathetic.
Oh, shit.
Alright, me hearties, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and also, don't forget to follow me over on Twitter or X, or whatever you want to refer to it as these days. I keep a list on there of games lousy with wokeness pinned to the account at all times for your reference. My handle over there is Dr. Disaster 1. But anyways, I guess it turns out you can only subvert the expectations of fans so many times before they just check out completely. A massive section of people are just completely uninterested in anything that comes from a Lucasfilm franchise these days. Even if The Great Circle ends up being good, people are over this shit. They just don't care. And we have been saying this for years. The greatest danger to these franchises is not anger and outrage. Don't get me wrong, it's bad when Disney does outrageous shit with these IPs that pisses people off. But there are diminishing returns on outrage. You see, outrage is a response, which means that someone still gives a crap. If someone is pissed that Lucasfilm ruined Star Wars or Indiana Jones, it means that they still care, and possibly they care enough to even hate watch whatever movie or show or game that they put out. But if they do this too many times, well, the outrage can only last so long. Eventually, it is transformed into apathy, and I believe that for a lot of people, we are at that stage. This is a game. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is being published by Bethesda, and it features Indiana Jones, so you'd think this would be a home run. And when they put out their gameplay deep dive video the other day, it only got 182,000 views on the Bethesda official YouTube channel. On the PlayStation channel, it got 98,000. And it was also released on GameSpot's channel, but it only netted 22,000 views on there. People just don't care. There is simply no buzz. With that in mind, I have heard from my sources in retail, and the pre-order numbers that I'm getting from them are very low on this game. And now, I know a lot of you are probably thinking that everybody buys digital games nowadays, so this is no big deal. And to that, I just want to point out that this is a useful guide. It shows us trends in the market. Using this information, I was able to correctly predict that Star Wars Outlaws would flop, which it did, causing Ubisoft's stock prices to plummet, I might add. And I predicted that Dragon Age would be an even bigger flop, but that Space Marine 2 was going to be huge. It's imperfect, but it's interesting and useful in identifying sales trends. So anyways, the first retail contact that I spoke with has access to the sales data of 9 stores located in heavily populated areas, and according to this person, they have sold only 4 copies of the Great Circle across all 9 stores. We are about 3.5 weeks away from the game's release, and these same stores had sold 8 copies of Dragon Age when they were 3.5 weeks away from that game's release. So, Dragon Age was tracking at twice the sales of Indiana Jones, and Star Wars Outlaws was sitting at 17 copies sold in those 9 stores, so the Great Circle is trending well behind that. And this trend is showing up across lots of these retail stores. Another of my sources has access to the sales data of over a dozen stores, and it's reported to me that these stores are at 7 copies of Indiana Jones that are sold so far, compared to 12 that they had sold for Dragon Age at this same stage, and 19 copies for Star Wars Outlaws. And then another source is from someone who runs 17 retail stores, and when they were 3.5 weeks out from the release of Dragon Age, they had sold 13 copies of that game, and Star Wars Outlaws was at 25 copies, but they've only sold 4 copies of Indiana Jones. Lastly, I have one more source with access to the sales data of 5 retail stores, and in those 5 stores, they have sold a whopping 1 copy of this game so far. Across 5 stores, they've only sold 1. And at this same time, they had sold 6 copies of Dragon Age and 13 copies of Star Wars Outlaws. If you do the math, we are looking at the sales data of over 40 stores here, and they have collectively sold only 16 copies of the game. That is less than half of 1 copy per store thus far, which is completely terrible. One of them told me that the hope is that this game is going to pick up after Black Friday. Once the holiday buying season picks up, they are hoping that holiday shoppers are going to see Indiana Jones and get all nostalgic and buy it for somebody for Christmas. But I suspect that is not going to be the case. And the worst thing in my mind is that the game doesn't even look all that bad. The reviews make it sound like the emphasis on stealth combat isn't great, but I must confess that as a big fan of Indiana Jones and a mega fan of stealth games, I really want this game to be awesome. But I'm right there with everyone else. I'm afraid that, once again, another Lucasfilm product is going to promise something and then subvert my expectations. Maybe I'll pick it up just to stream it for everyone, but we'll see. In any event, I'm going to leave it there. What do you think of this game? Do you have any plans to buy it, or are you like everyone else, just waiting to see what it's like from all of the streamers? Drop your thoughts in the comment section below, and we will talk there.
Thanks for watching, me hearties. If you haven't already, your captain is inviting you to subscribe to the channel and become a part of the crew. Life as a space pirate may not be glamorous, but there's always plenty of booty.